I often think of the mysterious ways indie films get made, and I believe there is a definite divinity involved in that process. I'm Joe Compton, and this is A Touch of Indies as I review the New Zealand indie film Mysterious Ways. Mysterious Ways is a movie about a New Zealand vicar named Peter who decides to propose to his boyfriend, a Samoan rugby coach named Jason, and promises him a church wedding, which was unheard of and forbidden. And so this creates a media storm that has both of them swept away inside of it and becomes this bigger thing than just about their love and getting married. Directed by Paul Oremland and starring Richard Short, Nick Afoa, Michael Hurst, Becky McEwan, and Joe Malu Folau. I will get to the actors I just mentioned and the masterful directing here in a minute. However, the only place to truly start with a review of this film is the underlying message that permeates throughout it. The one that simply states that love has no boundaries and truly no governing body behind it. Then you're going to mix in a Catholic dogma, a political and social unrest, and an uneasiness for society crying out to change with some folks who are just not accepting enough to listen or rock the boat. That becomes this powerful narrative tool. Now, one that can be used in lesser hands to push a message but be very lost. I've seen it before. It's done often with kid gloves and arguably harmful and not effective cliches and a simplicity that borders on offensive, not only for the message it's trying to utilize, but for those who are artists and create. Nothing is worse than taking shortcuts and leaning on cadences that patronize and appease the audience. None of this is done by Paul here. This movie has this beautiful sense of who it is and what it is exploring. And the greatest thing about it, message wise, is it's not always black and white. It's complicated, messy, and instead of leaning on what those before it had done, Mysterious Ways depends on your patience, your reverie, and it allows you to see the ideal from the whole of this new prism. I loved that opportunity. And the setup is rich, and to be honest, it's a little too thick at times. But if you can really push past the first 20 minutes, you start to understand what this film really is about. Then you get to see all this talent on display, both in front of and behind the camera. I'll start with what you can see, and that's the visuals here. And the utilization of natural light, muted colors, and shadows are so impeccably done here by cinematographer Grant McKinnon. I also love the perfectionist nature in which every shot is meticulously placed in our views. This is the best shot feature I've seen so far in 2024. And then you add in the acting, and Richard Short is phenomenal in this movie. His command of emotion, whether it's to be called to be subdued or whether it's called to be passionate, really, really effectively sell this complicated message that ultimately has such a great power behind it because of his choices here. I love the yin and yang that goes along with this from Nick Afoa, who gives you this little spark of anger and plays off of Richard's character so well. You get the light and the love shine from the younger actors in Becky McEwan and Joe Malu Folau. Then you get on top of that a veteran actor like Michael Hurst to stir the pot and be the foil in many respects here. And that in itself really adds this very authentic edge to this that I honestly wish the script had leaned more on. I love Paul's direction here because you can feel his fingerprints all over this masterful things that we're seeing. And it's because the message is clear. The construction of where we go and how we get there is also very well thought out, organized, and very beautifully orchestrated until the end. The end is a little troubling for me. And it's just not, it just doesn't have the same feel as the bulk of this movie does. And I get it. It's not out of the realm or out of possibility. Another really well done aspect by Paul in his writing. It's just there though. And it is the thought of and the setup. It just seems rushed. And a moment where the strength of this movie is that it takes time to develop and present its case. I will say though, it's hard to point at it when there are so many great moments that give you, the audience, the reward for sticking with it and engaging into it. This movie will really give you a lot if you let it. And that's the gift we hardly get in this day and age, even with indie films. It is well shot, well directed, and equally well acted. And I think if you wanted to give a chance to something you normally wouldn't, this is an amazing opportunity for you because I think it lives up to its namesake and works in mysterious ways. As always, thank you for watching, and remember that it's always time to